What's going on, everybody? Truth will set you free. We got the episode 112 banner up. Start sharing it out there. Trick and trip. Do whatever you want to the algorithm. We've got the Pelosi story, which we're going to try to create some truth out of the weirdest thing I've ever heard. 2020 story about the election. Big tech met with government organizations monthly. Musk fact-checked, well, kind of the Pelosi story, but we'll get into that. But then Twitter fact-checked Biden. We're going to talk about the election because that is next week, obviously next Tuesday. And last but not least, let's talk about the fact that every day there is tons of people dying. We don't know why. We're just going to maybe look at what could be truth, what might be fake. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. We don't have a monologue today because I've had a long day. So we're just going to do a little BSing to start the show while you guys comment where you're from. Judy, what's going on? Nikki, what's up? And of course, we got Casey and Dave Brown from Great American Syndicate. Dave, while people are joining us, tell everybody about the Great American Syndicate.
Yeah, look, we're building a community, a coalition of like-minded patriots who care about the future and direction of this country, people who believe in the American dream, who believe in opportunity and America's core values. We're building a marketplace of like-minded companies as well, veteran-owned companies, American-made companies, products, services, all inside this community and online membership portal called the Great American Syndicate. And we have our event every year called the Great American Summit, which is an extension of that community. So we'd like to invite anyone who's listening here and watching us each and every week, every Tuesday, to come in and be a part of the family. Join the community, join the association. You can go to greatamericansyndicate.com to learn more. That's greatamericansyndicate.com.
Love it. And I didn't
You ever notice on the radio shows how they say the website 3 times?
I always do that naturally. I don't know why, but I do. Where am I going to put that up? Because I saw somebody in the comments. There it is. You are from, let's see, who is that? Aaron, you're from DFW. Make sure you meet up with us in June of next year. I'm from this area. So if you're ever around and if I ever do a little meetup, let me know. Make sure you're following all the different pages, including Blunt Force Discussion. Nikki's got it right there. Yeah, that's going to be in June. I think we're good to release. It's going to be at Gillies, right? Can we say that, Dave?
Yeah.
At Gillies. It's going to be a fun time. Yeah, let's BS from here. Before we get started with our first, we're going to start with Pelosi because it's hot. But before we get there, Casey, what do you got going on in your world?
Just looking at the elections, and just got to say it now, Russo's going to be wrong on Tuesday.
Why do you think I'm going to be wrong?
Because you were saying you don't think a red wave's going to happen.
I do. I don't think it's going to be a gigantic wave. I think that the House is looking better and better by the second. I think that's a done deal, but I think the Senate is going to be very, very close. But we'll get into the election thing a little bit closer. So I'm going to tell my story to everybody because I think we got to realize that there are just really shitty friggin' people out there. So I decided, since I keep talking about my computer overheating, to buy a MacBook, a Mac. What are they called? Mac Mini. Because the new one's M1 chip. I bought one on Facebook, Facebook Marketplace. Met the guy. Texted the guy back and forth, $400. I get there. I don't test it because you need a monitor. And I have the guy's information. I know where he lives. I've got all the stuff. Why would somebody be so dumb to screw somebody over? So anyways, I go to plug it in. It's his old job. He said he didn't need it anymore. He had a whole story. During COVID, they needed the computers, for to work from home. Now it's just a big paperweight, probably because you can't log into it unless you still work at the company. So anyways, he gave me a login, but I'm like, that doesn't work. And I had to flush the system. Needless to say, it's still tied to the other company. And then when I called him out for it, he's like, and I gave him an offer. I said, without a police report, you give me 300 back. You keep 100. I'll give you the unit back. You do whatever you want with it. I don't know what happened at your previous place, why you left. I think that's fair. Whatever. He hasn't said yes or no to that, but he did say, he goes, it's your fault for not testing it. And he goes, you never said that you needed to use it. I go, never said that I needed to use it. And then he goes, does it turn on? I go, yes. He goes, well, then it's a working device. I'm like, you are a huge piece of shit. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So right now, again, $400 in the hizzy hole. So if you want to support awake.wokestore.com, use awake at 15% off. We're going to talk a little bit about the Smaxiganation later. I'm wearing the not a single one of us regrets not taking it. Dave, did you get yours yet, or is it still in the mail?
I got mine today. I love it. It's awesome. Yesterday, actually. Yep.
Yes. Where's Barb at? Isn't she in Texas?
She's in Texas shooting a music video, which is super cool. She's shooting, I think it's called Dear Mom. It's a music video for to honor Gold Star families, Gold Star moms, and she is going to be the mom. She's a Gold Star herself, a Gold Star wife, Gold Star family. So it's going to be super emotional and impactful for her for sure, and a great opportunity nonetheless.
So I got a question for you, Dave.
Yeah.
Gold Star family. Obviously, we know a ton about Barb. You know quite a bit more, I'm sure. So when obviously when somebody remarries, you're considered a Gold Star family part of that. Once you guys get married, or how does that work? Are you grouped into the Gold Star life?
Well, I guess I am. I mean, I'm the
You're helping raise
fiance
the
to.
children. I mean, you're helping raise the children.
Yeah, well, they're all raised and grown now. They're all out of, they've fled the nest. But once a Gold Star, always a Gold Star. Like she's a Gold Star family for life and Gold Star wife for life.
Yeah.
None of that changes even after we remarry.
Yeah.
And, in terms of, I don't know,
I was wondering.
it's kind of a shitty
I feel
title
like
anyway. Like,
yeah, I feel like you are like it's such a dick because I mean the main part about being a Gold Star family is if you lost someone that you then have to there's typically a replacement or sometimes you remarry. So how did I always want to commend you, Dave, because I know how I know how amazing Barb is, but how difficult it is to obviously be thrown into something that a life like that. So I don't know if I say it to you enough, but I always find you very impressive for how you handle things, especially Barb, who is very similar to Kelly. And okay,
I appreciate it. You know what, Anthony? I tell you, it gave me a new way to look at the sacrifice that people make, right?
Yeah.
So it gave me a different lens to look things through, and it really changes your outlook and perspective on literally everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, meeting you guys have done that to me as well. So I that's why I cherish our friendship so much. Marla, thank you. Not what I was asking for, but I will take every cent. So thank you very much.
Just keep your clothes on.
I will keep my clothes on. Speaking of that, that's a great segue, Case.
Sign up to the Great American Syndicate, Marla, for $4.99 a month. Same thing.
Yeah, $4.99 a month, and you sign up a Great American Syndicate. Same thing. It helps all of us. Yes, please do that. And that's the monthly. And then there's a little higher one, and you actually get a VIP ticket. That actually would be perfect for Aaron too. Would love to, of course, see you there, but maybe even before then. Anyways,
I think we should do a separate live and kind of just
explain.
Explain the whole syndicate, like what it is, what it offers, kind of give a behind the scenes, maybe show some clips of the summit, some of the speakers that spoke there, what's in store, what our vision is.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, Casey did the perfect naked segue. So the whole point of this show is we don't want to be the standard news show. There's plenty of those with people probably more talented than us. So we want to do something a little different where we actually try to find a story that has truth in it that most people don't know how to decipher. And honestly, some of the stories we've got today, we're just looking at what could be true, what might be speculation or logical fallacy, because all of it is very hard to judge at this point, except for people dying. There's a lot of people dying, which we'll talk about. Let's go to Pelosi. Speaking of people, no, too soon. Pelosi, there's a lot going on with this. Does anybody want to take a stab at where we are currently at in the information?
So we want to talk about a guy that's not even an American citizen being accused as being a Q guy and spreading misinformation all over the internet that is a Trump supporter and wanted to go in and kill Nancy Pelosi randomly in his underwear and ends up not finding Nancy because she is nowhere to be found.
The underwear thing has been retracted, by the way, which we'll get into. I don't know. I mean, you summed it up pretty good. Dave, any other details we left out?
No, for me, it's like, I love how they're trying to paint this as a political thing, when the dude was just crazy, right? Like, if you see interviews with his neighbors, they say how he was crazy on both sides. Like, he was kind of all over the place. nuts.
Mostly left, mostly crazy left. Just
Right. Yep. Obama supporter, like all this stuff. But what doesn't get said, and even so this is an interesting point that I saw last night on Tucker, or maybe it wasn't Tucker. I can't remember the news outlet, but they had someone, what was his name? He spoke at our event, Randy Sutton from Wounded Blue. He was on Fox News as a contributor talking about this. And he mentioned that FBI agent who did that press conference the other day, she's only been an FBI agent since 2019. And she's leading one of the most high profile cases in our country. And she's only been an FBI agent for 3 years.
And she's leading the Pelosi break-in.
Yes, the whole thing. She's running it. And during that whole press conference, not once did she mention that this dude was an illegal immigrant. And she's talking about how we can't let our country become political and people in this community. I'm like, he's not a part of this community. He's an illegal immigrant. His voice does not matter. His actions do not matter, other than he's a criminal and he should be deported. But she avoided that. They didn't even mention that he was an illegal immigrant. And no one's really mentioning that fact when it's a sanctuary state. Like any other state, that person would have been deported and this would have never happened. And so for my opinion, I give zero fucks about this. I have zero sympathy over it, because it's their policies that cause this crap. End of story for me.
So I called it a false flag in the beginning, and I'm standing by that story for a different reason, because I know Jay had issues with me calling it a false flag. I hate using the terminology false flag because it sounds, as one of our leftist followers said, like, what is that? One of our leftist followers said, you sound Alex Jonesy. I'm like, cool. Comparing the death of many children to a guy who got in a hammer fight with some weirdo late at night. Cool. If you want to compare the two, Lefty, you sound like an idiot. So there's so many weird things with this story. I don't even know where to begin, but the false flag to me is the way that it is now being covered up in the media. They're using it, like you said. He had one QAnon post from God knows when, and it looked like I think he said that he did not like vaccines. I believe as though that was like his two conservative sides that they took. So they're now retracting the underwear part, which I think is mind-boggling. They're saying that was incorrectly reported early. How do you can I ask a question before we continue? If a story seems that ridiculous, how do you make that up? How is that something that is made up and goes, oh, we threw a curveball on that one that is actually incorrect? And then I'm going to poke holes at all the other parts of this story. Is that even possible that kind of mistake is made?
Well, anything's possible, right? And this is one of the points that I was making over Kanye West wearing the White Lives Matter shirt. These people know how to get media's attention and get things to go nuts. And so it can be utilized in those scenarios to make a story go crazy. I think my whole theory with this is, yes, this is just a false flag, like you're saying. It's all just to utilize to get attention, but I think it went south. I don't think it went the route they wanted. And so now that's why it's a whole bunch of information you can't put together. It doesn't make sense. And it's honestly irrelevant. It really is nothing. It has nothing to do with what's going on today.
The cover up is now becoming, because I think honestly, if I were to guess, and there, as Sherry Covens, who watched last week, said, is there truth to this? No, this is speculation. If I were to guess, this was a late night attendee to his house, 2 a.m., and things went awry. They got in some weird alcohol rage, drugged up fight. Now, that is purely speculation. But let's look at the facts based on the call and the police arrival. So apparently there's a break-in to a house, might I add, that has very good security, even without security guards, and a very tall wall behind it. The original story goes that the man was found both men were found in his underwear. I can see why, if there was an intruder, why Pelosi would be in his underwear. It's 2:00 in the morning. He's probably waking up going, what's going on? The cell phone call was made from a bathroom, to which Pelosi's side of the story was, he asked his attacker if he could use the restroom. The same attacker that was found with zip ties, the hammer. Also, Pelosi randomly there was 2 hammers in there, 2 hammers involved. The hammer that was stolen from Pelosi he apparently had 2 hammers. So this guy, David, stole the hammer and let him go to the bathroom to make a phone call to where he put it on speaker to the police so they can hear what was going on. To which the dispatcher said that the guy's name was David and that Pelosi did not know him, and also said that he was a friend, to which the dispatcher said that he was confused. This is the actual truth. Oh, and the glass from the break-in, which mathematically can happen, very difficult, but the glass from the break-in is on the outside of the house, not the inside of the house.
Okay. Well, so 2 things a couple things. The glass. Randy Sutton last night talked about how the glass on that window has a film on it, and they do that for additional security purposes. And when it has film, it has some type of I don't know, it doesn't break as normal glass would. So it's very likely that you would find glass both on the inside and outside. And so he kind of debunked that in terms of being something else. The other thing was they said that there was a security guard who was doing work at a nearby neighbor, and he saw a man that fit the description of David walking through down the sidewalk, whatever, with a big, heavy black bag. He didn't say he saw a man in underwear carrying a black bag. He just saw which, if you saw a man at 2:00 in the morning carrying a black bag and all he had on was underwear, that'd probably be something that you would remember and say, right? So, but he didn't say that. So that's an interesting point. And that could go both ways, right? Whether did he strip down when he got inside, or maybe the whole underwear thing is a BS story. The last thing I would say is, I think this is actually what it is at face value. Like, it's a break-in from some crazy loon. I think this person seemed like he was so unhinged based on some of the history that I've seen with him, that someone like that could appear to be threatening, but also appear to be not threatening. And I think Pelosi took it at that, and so kind of spun it in terms of when he's on the 911 call saying his name is David, he's a friend, trying to disarm the guy, things like that, right? And that's he was kind of playing the guy if he could, but then the guy twisted, right? So by hope, and spun and attacked him and all this stuff, but only when the police were there. So how many police officers were there? We don't know. Like, the FBI agent said they don't even know how many times he was hit in the head. I'm like, come on, of course you know. Like, so we need to know how many officers were there, because that corroborates the whole thing. Like, there were witnesses. They actually saw it happen.
And if somebody is hitting the Speaker of the House husband over the head with the hammer, wouldn't that person get shot?
Well, that's an interesting.
It's not just that. It's where's body cam footage,
right?
And there's also cameras inside the house.
Yeah, just Epstein turned off. But whatever. Like, this whole thing, I think this was a setup and a plan to go, and it just went south. It went bad. They wanted to get media attention. All of this stuff, for whatever reason, and it just didn't work. It fell apart for them, which I think is hilarious. Now, I don't like it that he had to have surgery and went through that, but
did he?
No, but if it was planned, right, and this was actual, like, a ruse, like a Jesse Smollett 2.0 or whatever, right? Like, would they really pick a crazy lunatic who has, a naked streaker homeless person who, by the way, is also an illegal immigrant? Wouldn't they take any kind of fuel away from the opposing party to go after them, like, with bad policies and everything else?
Illegal immigrant, which is different than the southern border. And I
He's
do
here
agree.
Illegally. He extended his green card. He has a rap sheet as long as can be. He should have been deported years ago.
See, and there's Amy says it, like, who opened the front door? Like, who opened the front door? The other thing that I'm looking at with police, how many times in a break-in situation someone broke into a house? How many times? What's the percentage that the cops show up and there's actually an event going on and people are still there?
I mean,
It's got to be like low. It's got to be less than 1%.
Yeah, but they had to rush to this because they knew whose address it was.
But it doesn't matter. Break into the house, someone's in danger. If you were to do that in any scenario, they're going to show up, and the guy's going to be long gone. Whoever broke into the house and did this, if he wanted to kill Pelosi, he would have ran into this scuffle with this guy and then turn around and left if that was the plan.
He didn't intend on killing anyone. He just wanted to, hit her at the kneecaps so he could wheel her into Congress in a wheelchair.
Did anybody? Yeah. Did anybody? And he's an idiot to think that if that is what he thought, he'd be an idiot to think that she wouldn't have a massive amount of armed guards. Did anybody see the name of the hospital that Pelosi got his surgery at?
Mm-mm.
I'll let Casey look it up for a split second. I'll let anybody in the comments see what the name of the hospital was. If you watch Tatum's video, you can see them shoot it. And even Tatum didn't say anything about the hospital. But I'll let you. Did you find it, Casey?
I just pulled up an article to see if it's in here.
I think they're avoiding it.
It doesn't immediately come up in the search.
It's okay. So it's San Francisco. So
yes.
Silicon Valley.
Yes.
It is the Zuckerberg Memorial Hospital.
Here it is. It's actually talking about it right here.
So, do I believe anything that comes out of that hospital? Nope. Sorry. Like, you can't. I can't even, like, to me, I know we can't say but to me, anything, this whole story reeks of, and again, this sounds like conspiracy. It sounds like you can't make this shit up. He ended up in the Zuckerberg Hospital, which is where they're saying he had this surgery and he'll recover. This is an 82-year-old man that got hit with a hammer. If the guy was 42 years old and strong enough, he would not be making a full recovery.
I don't know, Anthony, Case, we might have to go back through the archives and make sure that this wasn't, one of those episodes from what's the cartoon?
Simpsons.
The Simpsons. Yeah, this could be a perfect Simpson episode that might have actually happened. We should check.
Recovering, yeah, it's right here. Pelosi has since been recovering at Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital.
You can't make that up. But with this said, for a skull fracture, it depends on the level. If there was a skull fracture, it depends on the level of trauma. It can cause a brain bleed, so you might have to drain the fluids and all that stuff. But skull fractures actually, sadly, happen more than people realize. But when you're 82, that's some serious stuff. So is getting hit in the head with a hammer, which they said by another thing. They said that he was not hit with a hammer until the police got there.
Right.
That's why this whole thing just is weird to me, is how do those scenarios happen? Like, it doesn't. Those things do not happen. When an officer's there, you don't have that.
It's sometimes. Again, you can get a skull fracture without surgery, but sometimes you do need one. Who knows? And again,
I'm inciting violence now.
It's an assault hammer. But at the end of the day, as I said, I don't know if I could believe any of it, because from point A to point Z, it makes zero sense. And then point Z is also Zuckerberg Memorial Hospital, where the news. I want to see the chart. Actually, no.
So I believe it is what it is, right? But I would not be. But there are a lot of questions and irregularities and things, like, as always. Like I feel like they do this purposely to make us like fight and argue and everything else. But I would not be surprised if the truth was something else. Put it that way.
I think I might be too far. I'm not. I will be totally honest. I think I'm too far. I think you're being too. But again, like you said, it's somewhere in the middle. But to think that this was just some QAnon, Pelosi hater and incited by right-wing violence, that I will.
Well, the whole political argument of it to make it political is a waste. Like, it's a joke. Like, come on. Like, we're not that stupid. Okay.
Right.
No. At least not most of us, anyway.
Well, I was going to say 30% of Americans could be.
Right.
And the same day, by the way, there was a break-in at the Hobbs campaign headquarters, to which they specifically asked for Kari Lake. The same day. I'm like, all right, if you guys are going to do shit, you got to space it out. The same day they had this, and they requested that Kari Lake, because of her rhetoric, she apologized, because this was stemmed from her inciting violence. I'm like, and I love that Carrie Lake stuck to her guns and pretty much says piss off. It's great.
Well, the other thing is that's really interesting is how even like Adam Kingsinger, the Republican, and all these other Democrats are like, where is the Republican leadership? Calling out this attack and denouncing it and all this stuff. I'm like, where were all of you when when someone was attempting an assassination attempt on Kavanaugh? Where were you when Lee Zeldin was attacked on stage? Where were you when Rand Paul was attacked by his neighbor and had 3 ribs broken? Like, come on, like, let's be real here.
Yeah. No, I mean it is a one way cookie.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Speaking of J6, I know somebody commented in the thing. So last week's episode, I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch it, but go to youtube.com for Blunt Force Discussion YouTube. I'm going to put it in here, youtube.com/C/Blunt Force Discussion. I had Taylor Hansen. He's been on the Blaze quite a bit, 22 years old. Brilliant guy. And he was one of the people holding Ashley Babbitt's head in her hands as she passed away. He tried saving her. He was right next to the Sullivan brother. He's become good friends with the family, and he had a lot of insight of that day as well as all of the Portland riots. We talked about a wide range of things, so I cannot suggest more to watch that episode. It's up there. It's the last one on there. I believe as though this week I'll be interviewing Eric Konovalov. He's coming to Dallas for Marie's show, so he's going to stop and do mine as well. And then I might take a timeout and just do some digitals while I figure out the studio situation and see what's going on with that. Anyways, that's what we got. So please go watch that episode. Thank you, Teresa, for the comment. Very good episode. See that? Boom. Review. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about the big tech. Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead and cover that story.
Oh, you want me to cover this story, huh?
Well, it was your story, and I honestly.
Oh, it was? Oh, okay.
Didn't you? Was that you or Casey, or was that Barb? It might have been Barb. She might have dropped.
I might have shared it with her. But look, back to January 6th. Like, I'm not condoning that behavior, right? But the reason why people went there, why it happened, it wasn't like because of Trump. Like, people were really disenfranchised with how the whole process went down and under the guise of COVID, right? And so we thought there was election integrity that needed to be addressed. A lot of us thought that social media played a very big impact in the election process and influencing people, suppressing stories, suppression polls, you name it. We were screaming it from the rooftops, right? And so a couple 100,000 people marched on Washington to let their voices heard that they were disenfranchised with that as well and upset about it. And then some bad shit happened, right? By a small group of the minority of people that were actually there. So that leads us to this story, which prior to 2020 election, tech companies, including Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Discord, Wikipedia, Microsoft, LinkedIn, and Verizon, met on a monthly basis through back channels with the FBI and the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and other government agencies on how to coordinate censorship operations in the guise, I'm sure, of Russian disinformation, right? This is what they said, why the Hunter laptop was not legit. They said it was Russian disinformation. 50 high-level intelligence officers said it was Russian disinformation when it wasn't. We all knew it wasn't. We all knew social media played an impact in the 2020 election with doing whatever they could to paint the big orange man as a threat to democracy. There's even a New York Times, wasn't it Time Magazine, did a whole magazine piece on how there was this coordinated effort between social media, universities, government institutions, right, to basically what I looked at as influence the election. And so do I necessarily think it was stolen? It depends on how you want to use words, but I think it was definitely rigged, right? And I think this story about the social media companies further backs that possibility up.
Yeah, hold on. Oh yeah, that was a good video. So I'm trying to look up because it's a Jack Posobiec story. Prior to the 2020 election, as you said, so the OAN, it looks like they reported it as well.
Yeah, Tucker's been covering this the last month about the rumblings of the FBI. Oh, I mean, look, Joe Rogan had Zuckerberg on, and he even said that it happened.
Yeah.
That the FBI came to him, telling him that Russian disinformation was going to be coming down, that he should look at maybe censoring it. And they had the laptop, Hunter's laptop, the whole time, right? They did the same thing to Twitter. Zucker admitted it.
Yeah, Zuckerberg admitted it about Twitter and Jack Dorsey.
So this isn't like, this shouldn't be shocking to anyone. Like it's called the FBI. Like where is their headquarters?
Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm reading.
Edgar Hoover. Like this is what they do. I mean, the FBI and CIA were, and I'm not saying it's this far, but they took the concepts from the Nazis, like from the Gestapo, like there was intelligence agencies. Like, you don't think they're political? You don't think they manipulate things? Like, come on.
Yeah, I think it's insane. Go ahead, Casey. I'll go next.
You're good. So yeah, the whole thing, they're all tied in some way. Our entire government the FBI is always at the hands of whatever leadership is there. If you go back and look at the history and the use of FBI, it's always been at whoever's in power in our government. Whoever's in power in our government always uses the FBI to whatever they want. And that has been the history of it. The FBI has been founded via an executive order, which everybody knows I'm very not a fan of. And so, yeah, there's nothing good that comes out of the FBI. Generally, it's used internally against each other.
So my big thing is, I've said this for a long time, because people talked about the fact that, well, these are private entities, and that's why it's not infringement on First Amendment. This proves that it is, because these people are actually controlling the information through these government entities, which is why this is, to me, so incredibly serious, especially when it comes to information on our health, like vaccines, information on elections. I mean, there's so many different things that are at risk of this, which that we not just censorship. The government can also play a role in algorithms as well. So I think that that's a very interesting concept. The government wants a certain mindset in this country, and it is not unity. So I think it'd be interesting to even see what kind of control they had over government. Now, this David said it's like Dorsey disappeared. I have speculation. I actually don't think Dorsey's as bad as I might have originally thought. I have speculation that he is going to be back at Twitter. Does anybody else share that thought process with me?
No, because he has another social platform in beta right now that he's about to launch.
Doesn't mean he can't be on the board of something with.
I don't know. If I got paid $1 billion because of the Twitter buy from Elon Musk, I'd probably, that's why he disappeared. He just got $1 billion. He just got paid.
I agree, but and I'll say one other thing. So remember what Elon is trying to do. He's trying to create that Weibo type situation where he's got multiple things going on, and Twitter is very limited, as we know. So there's no reason why there isn't some kind of partnership that can be made with potentially what Dorsey is creating, which could be merged into Twitter. I'll see. I will see. That's all my thoughts, because there were some interesting comments that Dorsey made as of late in the last 6 months, 5 months, that I found interesting, and he stood a lot behind Elon.
He did. Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what happens.
Yeah. I don't think he was a big fan of how much they started to limit free speech and thought and opinion. I don't think that was ever his intent. I don't think he ever liked seeing that. I would even argue that personally, he probably, as most of us did, truly disagreed with deplatforming a former sitting president.
Yeah, I agree. Zuckerberg, that's another interesting thought. Let's also bring this up. So you had Zuckerberg, along with all the other big tech companies, meeting with the federal government heads, FBI, all of them, while he was giving, $300 million to election integrity?
400.
400 million.
Almost half a billion.
So he was giving the budget for election integrity, and I mean, the fact
Which, by the way, right now, like if he went to do that again, he couldn't, because now it is officially illegal.
and
Right. So he literally influenced, the election. And if you don't think, like, proof is in the pudding, right? Just seeing the reaction from Democrats and the left on Elon Musk actually now owning Twitter and saying that he's going to allow free speech, that tells you all you need to know right there, that they're so outraged over this, that the government is outraged and concerned about it, because now, they have someone who's going to push back on them and not cower to, bend to everything that they say. Like, hey, you got to talk to us. We have this information. We need a back channel. Like, this needs to be censored. We can't allow this to get out. I don't think Elon's going to tolerate any of that.
Yeah. No, I find it fascinating as well to see people bouncing and saying, I can't be a part of a platform that allows that kind of hate.
Hysterical.
Holy shit. Wow.
Stephen King was like, "Oh, if you get rid of my blue check mark or make me have to pay, I'm out of here."
There's so many people
now, buddy. Like, no one cares. No one cares.
Well, that's the culture that Twitter was creating, right, on their platform. All of these people that love to whine and complain, and so now that they're getting their blue check mark taken away, and people are literally freaking out over this. And all it is it's a check mark. It's a little icon next to your name. That means everything to you. Like, no wonder why this platform needed to be sold.
Yeah. And Casey, I was going to recommend to Elon, not that he would listen to me because he doesn't know who I am, but it's kind of funny. Like, in the name of equality and equity and fairness, maybe we should just get rid of the blue check mark, so we're all the same and no one is, no one's higher or better than someone else.
Yeah. And
watch the liberals lose their mind then. Oh my goodness.
Well, and this is something that was covered earlier today by Mark Hay. He reminded me that, hey, Twitter was filing bankruptcy prior to Trump running for presidency. They were very close to going under.
Yeah.
And what saved them was Trump. But this platform is being utilized by the left because Trump brought everybody there and it saved it. And now it's turned over to other hands that actually saved this platform. It's kind of interesting.
Point. Yeah, totally.
I like that.
Totally. It's funny. Like, all these people are so outraged. They're literally outraged over the fact that someone else can now have a voice, that free speech can actually now. They're outraged over that. Like, what world are we living in right now? Are you kidding me?
Right.
So I'm going to throw this up. ERC, employee retention credits. We did have a couple people click on the link last week. The bit.ly is down there. I'll also go ahead and share it in the actual comments. If you own a business, or you know somebody that owns a business, or you're interested in any way, shape, or form on maybe trying to make some money off on this on the side on this by finding businesses that do, banks, distribution centers, anybody that had employees and that was affected by the pandemic. Again, this is nobody has to pay anything up front for this at all. They literally, these businesses fill out paperwork to see what they're eligible for, which is a government grant. It's called ERC, the ERC loans, or not loans, sorry, ERC grants. And if you did have the EIDL or the PPP, you're still allowed to get this. So check this out. This is our link specifically. It helps us out if it ever works out in the end. And if you actually are looking to do something aside, you're working from home and you want to start reaching out to businesses, shoot me an email, which I will put that banner up as well. This is for anything. bluntforcediscussion@gmail.com works. Easiest way to get a hold of me, and I will help you out. So check that out. Cool. Moving on. Let's talk about Twitter fact-checking now that since we're on the Twitter topic. Twitter fact-checking Joe Biden. Do you guys have that story someplace?
I don't have the story, but
I don't have the story, but I'm looking at it here and I just find it funny. I just find it funny that all of a sudden it's happening, but Elon stands by his word that he hasn't changed anything in the algorithm. All of it's still the same. But why all of a sudden is it being picked up? Is it because someone in the office has to approve fact checks before they go out? I don't know.
Well, maybe. Well, so different way to look at it. Like maybe the algorithm itself hasn't changed, right? But what has changed? That all these people were fired, right? All these people that oversaw this stuff. That normally maybe something like this that Biden says is incorrect. Like no one fact checked him about the fact that he believes there's 54 states, but that's another story. The fact that they fact checked him, maybe normally the algorithm is supposed to fact check everybody, but there are people who are pulling the levers are like, oh no, we can't fact check the president. So that person is no longer there. And so it got fact checked.
Yeah. Well, just to reiterate a little bit to that, AI is only, and these algorithms that they put in are only as great as the human that writes them. So they can have extreme bias and all of that comes with it.
True.
And so that's where we have to be very careful with these algorithms. I don't even care who it is. Like I'm madly supporting what Elon's doing in all of his endeavors right now. But
Ditto.
You still have to be careful because he is not doing this work. It's people underneath him.
Right. And I think to me, kind of like to what Dave alluded to is, yeah, Elon said he hasn't made any changes yet. That doesn't mean the people trying to save their jobs aren't doing little things to let things go the way that they're supposed to be, is all I can say. And then Musk fact checked himself. I think Hillary Clinton on the Pelosi story, I think it was. But he essentially gave the whole thing about how there's rumors about Pelosi being gay, to which he retracted himself. I did find that kind of funny that the guy that's now in charge of Twitter and the whole, world of fact checking kind of gave something that is unfact checkable, which to me is the free speech. That was it. Like, there's nothing. That's not hate speech. He's not doing anything wrong.
Someone like Elon needs to be a little more careful. Like he could easily shared that, but said, "Hey, imagine if this is true," right? Like put a little like spin on it where it's like,
yeah.
I'm not saying it is, but hey, smiley face, this is kind of funny.
He's the richest man on the planet. He can say whatever he wants. I don't care. The big thing is with him is he fact checked New York Times. Did you see that? New York Times wrote an article about him saying he tweeted out this, and he's like, no, I did not tweet this out. And he shows a screenshot of the New York Times article.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it does go to show that there has been no ramifications, no fact check for anything that's on the left for far too long. Probably each other's. It's called a mutual politic and jerk. I don't know.
I'm going down to my local Capitol's office. We got to really remove these things from everybody's hands. They're a danger.
I love that you just have that set up there.
maybe Paul Pelosi, maybe MC Hammer was there giving like a private performance, and then they both like grabbed onto MC Hammer. Then it was like Hammer time, and the music was playing, and now
who's wearing the parachute underpants?
Paul Hammerhead Pelosi.
All three of them.
Yeah.
And they're not underpants. That's underwear.
No, my bad. It's weird that there's the ability for them to cover up stuff is just mind boggling. I mean, to have he got like when he had the drunk driving, it was a full blown accident. Like it wasn't just like he got pulled over, like he got into an accident.
Yeah. He got treated with kid gloves for sure.
Man, it is amazing what they can do.
Now, to his defense, like, and I don't know the guy from Adam. I only know what I see with Nancy, and
he knows a guy named Adam. Anyways.
I'll leave that in the trash where it belongs. But a lot of people who've been around for a long time speak very highly of Paul. That he's a nice person. He's respectful. He's kind. Maybe he does some insider trading. I don't know, but I don't wish harm on anybody. So I'll leave it at that.
Other than the Clintons. But I agree with you. The Clintons, it's an all fair game with them.
I look at Bill and he just looks so harmless. He looks just like kind of this old man that just wants to look at boobs. And I just think that Hillary is the mastermind behind it all.
That is exactly what Monica said.
Cat got my tongue. But with Paul, again, and to be clear to all the leftists that are like, oh, you're celebrating. No, I don't want him to get hurt. I'm just saying the story is fishy as hell. That's it.
Yeah, well, and he does do insider trading. Just go and look at when he sold his NVIDIA stocks just before the big deal with the government signing the chips deal.
Yep.
Right. All
Well,
politicians do it though. Not a single politician is excluded from that.
including Rand Paul. Rand Paul actually has
Yes.
the one. If you know that Rand Paul calls out, what's his face, Fauci, more than anybody else. The one thing he doesn't call him out for is remdesivir. Why? Because he owns stock, a lion's share stock in remdesivir in Gilead. So, fun fact. Let's see, where are we at here? We got 15 minutes. Let's end it on the election. I know I said we'd do the election before this, but let's go ahead and talk about this because I'm really going to give a shout because we're going to talk about all the random people dying. I don't know what it's from. I don't know. I've got no idea. Who knows? I mean, this just could be this weird blip on the radar. But while we're there, I'm going to throw this up real quick. Where's the there it is, Dr. Artis Show. So one of the supporters of Blunt Force Discussion, if you use BFD at checkout, you get 10% off. We actually do have a lot of people that buy these products. It helps with if you've got the Schmiggity vid, you've got Doc's Viral Defense, you got Prostate Pro. I am now officially sleeping through the night. This is not a joke. So I will tell you that Prostate Pro has helped me. I don't know if it's mental or not, but it's helped. But I do know people that have taken the Doc's Viral Defense and some of the other products, including his acne products. But anyways, a lot of stuff on there. Again, if you ever have any questions, go to bluntforcediscussion@gmail.com, shoot me an email, or go to thedrartisshow.com. Use BFD at checkout for extra 10% off, even with the sales that he's got going on. There is, just today, and this is why I think this is an interesting topic, and I think I will bring up the article in the Atlantic because I think this is a fitting time. Let's see. There was, 3 deaths that came through the news today. Bengals offensive analyst unexpectedly dies at 38. That's Adam Zimmer. He was just, I think, coaching on Sunday, wasn't he? I believe. Pioneer dubstep producer Walsh died at the age of 40. Young guy, decent shape. What else? Somebody else just died. Julia. Where's that person? There you go.
Why did they die? What were the conditions? What caused it?
Sudden death on the other 2, but Julia Powell died of cardiac arrest at 49. So that I guess she died a few days ago, but it just came through the news 5 hours ago.
Yeah, it's the cardiac thing that's really striking and interesting.
Yeah, and that's the sudden deaths on the other. Again, we haven't heard fully. I thought it was interesting. One of the wrestlers' kids, was it Nash? I think. They said died of alcoholism or died of cutting cold turkey with alcohol, which I know could do some really bad things to you. But again, this is a cardiac.
Kevin Nash?
Was it Kevin Nash? Yeah, Kevin Nash's kid. I think.
Cutting what?
Quitting drinking. They said that he was, a boozer, and he quit drinking cold turkey 3 days before he had a heart attack and died.
Oh, I thought you meant like cold wild turkey.
Wild turkey.
That'll get you too. That'll sneak up on the backside. But no, let's see. So there's again, we see this 2-3 times a day. Now here's the golden carrot is I had a friend of mine reach out to me who has been jabbed and hears me talk about it more than she probably wants to at work. This isn't Kelly. Kelly is like me, but I know that this person has had the vid 3 times. They've had their first 2 shots and never got another one. Had some cardiovascular issues afterwards where she wasn't running as fast. But all of a sudden she messaged me today. She goes, so many people are dropping dead. WTF. So that to me is beginning. And I start sending stuff and I send the things from today. And she goes, what the F? And then she said, also, a friend had a heart attack in San Diego, was found dead, then revived after 20 minutes of CPR, then passed away yesterday. In California, late 20s, doesn't know if he is, what. But again, it's happening not just to celebrities. It's just died suddenly news. It's happening everywhere.
I blame climate change.
Must be.
No, what's interesting is this is probably going back easy 6 months, easy, maybe 9, or even last year. I was listening to an episode with Andy Frisella, his podcast, and he was talking about how the next thing that they're going to do, as soon as all this stuff comes out that it's bad, right, and it's causing all these deaths and irregularities with the heart and all this stuff, before the 2024 election, leading up to it, they're immediately going to pivot, meaning the Democrats and liberals, and they're going to blame Trump. Because if Trump runs, they're going to blame him for bringing a bad vaccine to market.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I didn't even know about this one. I just looked it up. It is true.
No, it is true. She said it live on air.
Yeah.
Let's see it.
Heartbreaking too, which is really sad. I love Megyn Kelly.
Yeah,
Love
I do
Megyn Kelly.
too. She's a great middle ground.
Yeah.
Right leaning pundit. I think that at one point, even the Jay Kennedys of the world, if you just keep slapping it in their face, how much this is happening, will eventually go.
Yeah, it's undeniable at some point. Yeah, unless you're blind.
No, I mean, I don't know how it's not
and dumb.
I know. I don't understand at this point how people aren't going shit. Like it is not like a once a week occurrence anymore. It is multiple numbers coming through your phone a day of celebrities. If you go to Died Suddenly News on Facebook, it is real people. You can do the rabbit hole and look at their profiles. These are real people losing real family members.
At the very least, Anthony, every single person should be going like this.
And it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be about the actual Smaxiganation. It could be about just going, why is this happening? And
what's happening? What's actually happening?
And then the question becomes, why hasn't the medical profession, and I think I know why, started saying this is due to COVID in general. People who had COVID, this would make them more susceptible to these blood clots. The reason they're not saying it is because there is enough doctors that would go, that doesn't make medical sense. I've wondered why they haven't. And then I did a little bit of my research. There's no way that COVID specifically could have this long-term effect on the body that would cause this kind of cardiovascular issues. So that's why they haven't been able to blame it. Whereas something like spike proteins are questionable in the way that they interact with.
But there's studies for each, for the vaccine, for the juice. There was study for the boost, but there is zero long-term study of getting the initial juice, getting 5 boosters after, getting a booster every year after. Like, no one knows what that can possibly do to your body. Like, there's no study about it. There's nothing. And so to me, that's the big question mark. Like, what is this? What does the effect have? The routine every year injection of this thing. What's the long-term side effect of doing this every single year? Maybe there is none, but likely there's got to be something.
Right. And they are studying it. And this is why, Casey, go ahead. Do you have something to say? Sorry.
Yeah, well, I was going to add quite a bit here. So to what David said, they are the study. Like, that's what's happening. This is Microsoft 101, test on the users. That's what's happening.
Right. Exactly.
But when it comes down to this whole scenario, this is why I emphasize the EUA, so emergency use authorization. When that was signed, that removes a lot of responsibility on anybody that was involved in the approval of this process and getting it out. It removes all responsibility. This is why they're still trying to utilize it, is because if they were to remove that EUA and put it into standard medical practice, then they could be sued for any of these deaths. Right now, they cannot. They are also still pursuing that for all of the boosters for the children to still protect them. If they were to let their foot off the gas pedal and just let this thing go, that's what would happen, is they would be held accountable. So they have to keep up with this lie. They have to keep going with it. And you can't do that. And we have to keep vocalizing and talking about these processes and these anomalies that's coming about, especially coming out of a pandemic. You should normally see a whole bunch of deaths, and then a dive of no more deaths, like hit ground zero almost, where people aren't dying anymore. What's happening is it's still staying up there. Why is that? And that is why we need to start looking at that. And that, Russo, that's where, with Jay, why are we not seeing this dip after a pandemic that you would normally see with everything else in the past?
Well, cancer rates are through the roof, which, again, a lot of people went out of remission. We're just preaching to the choir, but holy crap, there's just so many reasons why it's still high. And it's interesting you brought that up, which is why this article I'm going to go through real quick, and then we'll be done in 5 minutes because we'll talk election and wrap it up.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen have you seen the Atlantic article, Dave?
For amnesty?
I think I caught a quick glimpse of it.
So I'll do a quick proofread or skim read. Let's declare a pandemic amnesty. Like you said, it's like an EUA. It's like, the left is going, whoops, are bad, but let's drop it. We need to forgive one another for what we did and said when we were in the dark about COVID. We weren't in the dark, just to be clear. In April of 2020, with nothing else to do, my family took an enormous number of hikes. We all wore cloth masks that I had made myself. We had family hand signal, which the person in front would, this person sounds like a gem, yada, yada, yada. They would yell if they got too close. They would yell at our son's social distancing. These precautions, they're admitting now, were totally misguided. In April 2020, no one got the coronavirus from passing someone else hiking, which is actually not necessarily proven either way. But anyways, outdoor transmission was vanishingly rare. True. Our cloth masks were made out of old bandanas, wouldn't have done anything anyways. True. Most wouldn't. But the thing is, we didn't know. I've been reflecting on this lack of knowledge thanks to a class I'm teaching at Brown University. Glad you're indoctrinating students with that kind of mindset. On COVID, we spent several lectures reliving the first year of the pandemic, discussing the many important choices, yada, yada, yada. Some were better than others. Spring and summer, there's one phrase I'm looking for. The U.S. schools were closed way too long. Our latest figures on learning loss are alarming. All of these things, all three of us have said more times than we can even count. When the vaccines came out, we lacked definitive data on the relative efficacies of J&J versus the mRNA. The mRNA vaccines have won out, which I don't know where they're getting that research unless they're looking at how many people are dropping. Anyways, obviously, some people intended to mislead and made wildly irresponsible claims. Remember when the public, I love this. Remember when the public health community had to spend a lot of time and resources urging Americans not to inject themselves with bleach? They're still carrying that lie in this article that was a Trump thing, when in fact it was not. It was actually the media spinning it, and then they had to correct the way that they spun it from something that he said. Anyways, to wrap this up, because it does go a while, and I put it in the comments on the side. It essentially says the discussions are heated, unpleasant, ultimately unproductive. In the face of all of this, the people that got it right for whatever reason may want to gloat. Those who got it wrong for whatever reason may feel defensive and retrench back into a position that doesn't accord with the facts. All of this gloating and defensiveness continues to gobble up a lot of social energy and drive the culture wars, especially on the internet. Pretty much saying, we know you guys were right, but please don't gloat because it just makes us upset. To that, and I forgive me because I know we're on Great American Syndicate as well, go fuck yourself. Sorry.
Here's my answer. We shouldn't gloat, just vote.
Oh, dirty.
Facts.
Dirty. I'm going to gloat a little bit because they can suck a bag of you know what.
Hammers? You want hammers?
A hammer. Yeah.
You want hammers?
Dave, that was a perfect transition. So I just want, if you guys haven't seen this article, it is a perfect example of this, whatever. But you slid into the elections. Let's talk. We got next week. We'll probably do some kind of election coverage. Barb should be back. Maybe we'll have a little drinking game. I don't know what. Maybe we'll do, because I know that you guys will stay up drinking wine for the election next week. Maybe we'll
stay up. We'll be up all night for sure.
Maybe we'll do a little late night show next week. I don't know. We'll see if you guys are down.
Yeah. To me, that's the answer here. Like, we're never going to forget. Like, don't expect us to. Like, but we're gonna go forward in our lives. Freedom over fear. That's the line in the sand, and we're gonna make our voices heard next Tuesday through the vote. And the red wave is real, and I believe that even right now, as of today, it is still being underestimated how bad it's going to be. It'll be 100-year freaking whipping. Like, it's gonna be bad. And I've said this before, it's not even the House, right? The House is going to be 30, 40 seats. Senate, maybe 3 to 5. For me, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, it's going to be the governorships that is really going to like shock people. How many states in this country will be being led by red conservative governors?
Yeah, like one of the states that shocks me, if you go and look at the polls, Washington. Washington could be red this election. Out of all states, Washington. It's like, what? I didn't even think that was even going to be close. But yes,
even one of the senators in Washington, they thought it was all blue. And this, I can't remember her name, but it's like a toss up now, and she's about to beat a 30-year incumbent. And I was just thinking about that when I heard this in the car. 30 fucking years. Like 30 years this woman was in office. Like if you want to know what the problem is, like that's it, right in a freaking snapshot. 30 years. I mean, can you imagine? I find it disgusting, to be honest with you. Like horrible.
I hate it. Like Orrin Hatch. I don't know. Orrin Hatch was a senator here from Utah that Mitt Romney replaced. Orrin Hatch was in office for 18 years. When he ran to unseat the incumbent, that when he was first running, he was saying, what is it? What do you find in, well, what do you call a senator that's been in office for 18 years? And his statement was, you call them at home. And that's what he did. He turned around and did the same thing, ran for another 18 years. You can't allow, I don't care if you're red, blue, purple, yellow, whatever color or party, whatever, you cannot be in office for 18 years. That is how corruption starts to set in. You have to have a change in seat.
True.
We don't have enough people involved to be able to have a term limit right now. If you put term limits on it, you don't have enough people running for election. We have to fix that too. So that's when we say get involved and get engaged, it doesn't mean get your Twitter fingers happy. It means get engaged and even run for office locally or even on the federal level if you wanted. You have to start doing those things. And that's why I was giving Russo crap at the beginning is yes, the red wave I think is happening on every level. And this is the first time we're ever going to see it. And probably the last time you will see it. I don't think you're going to see it happen again.
Guess we'll see. So you think it's going to be fit, and we'll talk obviously next week. You think it's going to be 55, 45 in the Senate, and then you think it'll be about a 30. Wait, that was Dave that said that. About a 30 to 40 point swing in the House.
Yeah.
What's the House?
Minimum 30 seats, minimum.
What's the deficit in the House right now? Like 14 or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly, but it might be like around there. It's in the teens, I think.
I think
that's what struck me like a couple weeks ago when I was looking at Real Clear Politics, and then I realized that there 36 governorships are up for election this cycle. 36.
Wow,
that's
huge.
Yeah, I think your numbers are reasonable. I like your numbers. I think you're going to see like those changes, but the big changes, like you're saying, are going to be locally. I even hear like Utah, the media is pushing so hard trying to say Evan McMullen has a chance against Mike Lee. No, he doesn't. Mike Lee is going to just whoop him. And it's because what happens is the right doesn't really participate in polls very often. And so those numbers don't really show up until election day.
Yeah. One of the, I mean, in my opinion, and you can fact check it too, but one of the best, most accurate pollsters out there is the Trafalgar Group. They were right with Trump in 2018. They called it right with Biden. They have Zeldin up 1.6% right now in New York. Like he's actually winning. And I find that those polls to be more accurate than any other poll that you'll find. So if you guys are interested, check that out. The Trafalgar Group. I think it's Trafalgar Group. You can just Google it, but their polls are highly accurate. And that's because it's one of the reasons, Casey, is because they actually sample, a broader spectrum. Yeah, right.
They don't just put random people behind a computer and then that's how you make a determination.
For sure.
And David, yeah, I'm sorry about your country, man. Being Canada, it's really rough for you guys at the moment. Between you guys, the only places I'm paying attention to outside of America is Canada and Brazil.
Oh yeah, Brazil's a shit show. I don't know if you saw Bobby Sausalito's video, but I
have not.
2 million. So it was decided by 2 million votes. The person that lost is not conceding the election. The person that won was imprisoned for I think 18 months for conspiracy and I guess like something with tax, whatever it was essentially him being shady. He won by 2 million votes while there was a 5.5 million vote disqualification. So 5.5 million votes were not included in the overall count because they were not deemed valid.
Is this Brazil?
This is Brazil. Yes.
Yeah. Not only that, but the national police were actually stopping vehicles full of voters who supported Balasandros, I can't remember pronounce his name, but so that's another thing, like really, really interesting. And China right now is fully entrenched and almost puppet master like with everything that's happening in Brazil. And you know why? It's because of Brazil has a tremendous amount of natural resources.
Brazil is they are the modern version of Venezuela, but it's being so abused by the corrupt system, so abused.
So this David keeps talking about, I know we're going a little long, Bill C-11, since you said it 3 times, like, oh, now I got to look it up. Ottawa, Ontario, at a Senate hearing today, Uniform Media Director Randy Kitt testified that Bill C-11, otherwise known as the Online Streaming Act, is missing a caveat, to save local news. So I don't know much about it, but I'm going to look more at it. It's a modernization of the Broadcasting Act to bring foreign internet streamers into Canada's regulatory system. Why is that a bad thing?
This could be by glancing at it, this can be dangerous. It's the same thing as GDPR in the EU. And depending on how far they push it, I'll have to read this more, but it could be pushed to where they could censor you because you are saying misinformation on the internet.
But if they're bringing and again, I don't know the bill, so if they're
it seems like high level what I'm reading here, it seems like it could be utilized. Like we could just be removed and not allowed to be broadcasting in Canada just because you would disagree.
I got it. Okay. It's also because it looks like the bill is essentially saying who is allowed to be brought in.
Correct.
Got it. Yeah, that's dangerous as holy hell. Yeah, that's terrible. Sorry about that there, Abe.
Okay. You can't buy handguns in Canada. So
that's already a thing. I'm forgetting. It's funny. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I did interview the Brooklyn Patriot. Thanks to Nikki as well. That interview will be up. I've just been dealing with getting things set up and all the fun stuff. But yeah, so the real Brooklyn Patriot, if you follow him, he's the one. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers. Real fun. Thanks, Eric. That was really interesting. Like he's a Jewish guy from New York, from Long Island, heavy accent, and he just his Instagram pages are great. They're just him sharing a bunch of what's going on in New York City and what's going on around with crime and all that stuff, and just exposing that we don't live in a white supremacist country. We also talked a little bit about the Kanye situation, but it'll be a good episode. I don't know when it's going to go up, either sometime this week or beginning of next.
So it's if you don't mind going back real quick to a little truth, and go back to the New York governorship race. Hochul, whatever. She was on TV the other day and she was talking about how it's a fallacy and manipulation and a lie that this crime wave is, less or less so in conservative states, right? She said blue states are more safe, but no one, this is what they're doing. They're pivoting the argument. It was never about blue states. It's about blue cities.
Right.
Like blue cities is where the crime is out of control. And there are very few big cities that are run by conservatives. Like it's the blue cities where this crime is out of control. And I don't care if Ronald Reagan was leading, the state right now in New York. Like if you have a entrenched blue ideology and a blue mayor in New York State and a blue attorney general, all this, like this is like Alvin Bragg, whatever, you're going to have these kind of things happen. And there's, it's not about the state, it's about the cities. It's about who's running the cities and the cashless bail and all that crap.
I'm continuing to read on the C-11 bill, and the Atlantic to me is one of the biggest. The Atlantic is owned by Bezos's ex-wife, right? Am I right about that?
I didn't think it was the Atlantic. I want to say Washington Post.
Oh, no, I think it's the Atlantic.
Well, Bezos owns the Times, right? Washington.
Oh, is it Washington Times?
Yeah.
Anyways, while you're looking that up, cold dose of reality awaiting Elon Musk, and it's regarding the censorship bill. In the coming weeks, Musk is in for some surprising meetings and phone calls. It seems if anyone's left in the Twitter legal department to set up these meetings, Canada's C-11 bill, also known as the Online Streaming Act, would greatly increase governmental control over online content and is part of a wave of new internet speech laws now being debated or implemented in countries around the world. Nobody, not even Musk, is above the law. They are literally celebrating this. They're celebrating internet censorship. That's sick. Like, it is sick that that's an American publication. You figure out who owns it.
And let me also elaborate a little bit on that. That's the danger of our current government that we have, with the left having so much control and power. They were actually to put in a censorship bill and say the government must oversee and regulate the internet. You're going to see that. And with Elon Musk buying Twitter, that could give power to these bills to actually go through Congress and get passed. There is a danger there.
Yeah, and this is why it's so important to vote, right? I don't want to like compare anything to like slavery, because that was god awful, but the North, right, rose up, and it wasn't an election, it was an actual war, right? But we fought the South to end slavery, and so in my opinion, I look at this election as equally important as that and as the civil rights movement, which Democrats are also against. Equally important, because we are literally, the pendulum has swung so far left that we literally are on the cusp of socialism, and what follows socialism is communism, right? So it's that important, this election. We have to right this ship for so many reasons, including the reason that Casey just mentioned. We can't allow those kind of things to pass. And if Democrats still control the House and they still control the Senate, and they have an imbecile still sitting in the White House, these things are going to trickle through, and we're going to have to live with them, and it's going to suck.
Yeah. So it's a Biden mega donor. It's not that. I guess Bezos was just Washington Times. I thought Atlantic was also owned by one of those people. But anyways, it's not. It's a Biden donor. So.
Well, as Kanye West exposed, all the media is owned by just top tier people, and they're all friends. So it doesn't matter. They're all evil.
What is that? Oh, well, I had one of those since December. Yeah,
I get those every day,
and it never goes away. It doesn't. Anyways, if Barbara here, she'd be yelling at us. So it is time to go. Final words, Dave.
Just get out and vote, and tell everyone else to vote. Bring people who who are moderates, independents, conservatives, free thinkers, who are tired of this crap that we constantly see every day when we wake up. Get out the vote, and everything will be fine. I'm very positive, optimistic about the future of our country, and I'm even more so about the outcome of this election on Tuesday. And 2024 will be the icing on the cake.
So Dave's got 30 to 40 seats switched, and five up on Senate. Casey, what do you got?
When it comes to voting, I agree. Dave stole my whole spiel that I end the show with. Go and vote, but that's all right. Go and vote. Don't make me use some force.
See what you did there. What do you got?
Don't bring a hammer to the voting booth.
What do I got?
At the voting booth. Casey, what are your number? What do you got on the election?
I say the House. So I don't go with the same numbers. Let's say the House switches just enough. Instead of, let's go with 30. And then when we look at the Senate, let's say a 4. Because I can't disagree with those numbers. I think those are fair.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be right in there, in around that range, that we're going to see those switches.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with
the Senate. Probably comes down to 4 states, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona?
Yeah, Arizona. It's the same swing states as we had before.
Whoever wins 2 of those 4,
mm-hmm.
I think
Pennsylvania is already Republican, so if those stay the same, it stays the same. Pennsylvania is Republican. Arizona is currently Republican. Nevada is Democrat. So if that would be one of the switches.
How is Pennsylvania Republican?
Pennsylvania's got.
Isn't Fetterman incumbent?
No.
Well, he's not an incumbent in Washington.
No, the person holding the seat is a Republican.
Okay. I thought he was already sitting. That's why
it's even more important, right?
So Pennsylvania has to hold.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say 25 on the House. I think that'll be it. And I'm going with a plus minus. I'm going 2. So I think it'll be 52-48 after this one.
Okay.
And I'm going red. I'm saying that's not really a wave, but it's enough to get shit done is all I'm saying. That's all that matters.
I'm with Casey on the Senate, 54. 54. And I'll go 40 in the House.
All right. We'll see. We'll play this back. All right. Thank you guys for joining. As always, appreciate you. Have a great rest of your weekend. The one thing I did not give a shout out to, which of course I have to, because Tony is a badass from Monate. And also, of course, our gear. So gear real quick, Awake for 15% off. It's on the bottom. Again, that's awakenotwokestore.com. And then blunt force discussion, bluntforce.mymonate.com. Email me if you've got any questions. If you like any of the products, hair care, face cream, all that good stuff. It's good. I'm not even going to get into it, but it's great. So if you want to try it, go there. And have a great rest of your evening. We'll catch you next week. We'll alert you to the plans for Election Day. And yes, get out, get your ass to the polls, and vote. What did you say? Don't gloat, vote.
Don't gloat, vote.
Or gloat.
Should we do an Election Day special?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do one like this, and then we'll maybe hang out on one later.
Okay, cool.
All right. Maybe I'll even bring Kelly. She's got no idea what's going on, but I'll bring her. All right.
That'd be great.
Bye, everybody. Have a great night.
Night, guys.